started with this business?
I'm a lawyer by training, and I was a partner in a firm in Worcester, and this winery came into the market. The reason being that in 2003 the wine industry was really tough, and the prices were not high enough for the farmers to make a reasonable living. And the members of this winery decided at that stage to put the winery into the market.
So was it a cooperative at this stage?
It was a cooperative with 8 members. The winery was built in 1962, and it went okay until the 2001-2002, when the industry became under pressure. So what transpired then is that a customer of mine bought the winery. I structured the deal, and 8 months later he said to me I should become involved in the business with him. So I said to him, I don't like to work for people, but I'm willing and able to do so.
So you're an entrepreneur by nature?
Yeah, but as you know, we were not being born to be entrepreneurs when we were brought up.
Yes.
We were brought up to be professionals or not entrepreneurs. Yes, but it was always in my blood. I always aspired to be in business. I had my own filling stations in Pretoria, and when opportunity came, I didn't even doubt to take it. So I took it. I resigned in 2 days, and I became officially a partner in the winery in 2003. And what happened is, my father taught me the most important thing is to understand the industry that you're in.
Yeah.
So what I really did the first 2 years is to understand what it's all about. Did a lot of reading to understand how viticultural work, not in detail to become an expert, but to have a good understanding.
Yes.
And then as things progressed, I realized that the South African wine industry was really production orientated, while the Australian wine industry was market orientated.
In other words, Gerard, you take the grapes from the farm that you're on, or the farms that you are involved with, as in the cooperatives, and you make wine from that. That's what you mean by production.
Yeah, and you leave it to someone else to market it. So you've got a very good product,
yeah,
and you leave it in the hands of someone else to market it. And that means you're not in control of your own destiny. And so in the past, KWV were a major role player, so they moved out all excess wines. The Stell was a major role player, Douglas Green Belling was a major role player.
Correct.
So most of the co-ops that produce about 75% of all wine in South Africa were basically only selling wine to the bigger role players. By doing that, you're not in control of your own destiny in terms of cash flow, in terms of brand building, whatever. You're only producing what they want.
I see,
and I thought,
they determine the price.
Absolutely, so you're a price taker.
Yes.
All the time. And I realized that is not the road to go, especially for a winery like Overix. Because for Overix, we don't have members, we don't have the loyalty of members at that stage. So for us to make the winery work, we had to have enough tons to give economy of scale. Secondly, we were not allowed, because my partner in the winery was in the wine industry, we didn't think it was clever to take grapes from farmers that's already members of existing co-ops. So we had to go out to look for people or producers that's not members of co-ops. What happened then is we found those guys.
So that wouldn't be ethical, or
it wouldn't be ethical. It was not ethical.
I see.
Because at the end of the day, you want the other one is also to be successful, because you need a strong industry. I will explain that later, yes, why that's important. And it's not ethical because my partner was selling equipment to wineries. So if we go to a winery and we take the member, he can't sell equipment into the winery.
I understand.
So it's not the right way to do things. So we were looking for producers that's producing grapes that were not members of co-ops or did not have contracts with wineries.
See.
For them, to entice them to deliver the grapes to us, we had to give them good payment terms.
Of course.
In order to do so, we had to sell our wine in such a way that we can have cash flow to pay them in installments. Traditionally, what happened in a co-op is the wine is being sold, and when the wine is being sold, and the farmer don't always know, he gets paid. So we try to get to a formula where we can pay the farmer in installments. So to cut a long story short, we ended up in a system where we pay a farmer within a period of 12 to 14 months. In order to do that, you need to generate cash flow, and the only way of generating cash flow is by obtaining your own customers in the market. So I realized then that what's very important for us as a company is to market our own wine, and not to be in the hands of the big corporate companies like a Distell and a Douglas Green, so that we can have access directly to the market, sell wine frequently, generating cash flow, and being able to pay the producer in equal installments over a period of time.
Gerard, here we have a bottle with the Fair Trade label on it.
Yes.
Can you tell us about how does this sell? Does it add value? Is it a competitive advantage?
It's definitely a competitive advantage for the simple reason that there's not a lot of fair trade producers in South Africa. A small minority of them are fair trade producers. So there's a movement in especially Europe for retailers to buy a lot of fair trade wine. So as soon as they look for fair trade wine, they know that Overix is one of the fair trade suppliers. So we jumped on this wagon when it started, and so a buyer know that we are fair trade certified. Secondly, in terms of fair trade, we follow the same philosophy. One is bulk fair trade for companies like Marks and Spencers that wants to buy and bottle under their own label, and secondly, branded business. So this fair trade label is this one is bottled under our own fair trade label called Well Away.
I see. Yeah.
And it adds value to our company, definitely. For instance, in the US, fair trade is not so well known in wine. It's well known in coffee. Most of the coffee in Starbucks is fair trade, but in wine it's a small percentage of the market. So we are one of the first, not one of the first, but let's say that we're one of the few companies, yes, that's selling fair trade wine in the US actively. And it gives a point of difference, because if you go to a buyer, you have something else to offer.
Gerard, there's a perception, not only in the wine industry, we in South Africa, we get the lowest quality and the high quality products are exported. Is that the case?
Marieke, I can't talk about other industries, but in wine it's very difficult to do that. Because you bottle wine and you have a bottled wine and you try to have economies of scale being as effective as possible. So you try to have the same front label, the same back label for most of the countries.
For local and international?
Where possible.
Okay.
So our aim is to be effective as possible with our dry goods, so that we can have one form of packaging for all the markets. And as a company, we whether it's bulk or bottled product, we always want to have the best product in it as possible.